What's up, y'all? Today we got Jerome Hardaway, software engineer at Microsoft, and also founder of Veterans or Vets Who Code. Yeah, it was a pleasure speaking to Jerome, and we talk about martial arts, we talk about anime. That may have been in the recorded segment. I think it was. You guys will learn this one. Okay, I think a cool place to get started is like your background, sort of, what you did before founding your organization, Vets Who Code, and particularly like how you got interested in like programming and computer science. I think that'd be super fun to hear.
Cool. So I was security forces in the United States Air Force. That's my first big boy job. Yeah. So I was in the Air Force and security forces. Went to a couple places, like a couple countries. Some good, some not so good. And I ended up leaving the military at the height of the Great Recession. So I was coming out thinking I was going to get the opportunity to get these type of roles that, kind of coincided with my skill set, Air Marshal, Secret Service, this type of stuff. And what happened was there were no jobs around. And the only things I was going to get was either a security guard at Home Depot or go back overseas in private military. And I was like, I don't want to become a private military contractor because that sounds horrible and makes me like a crappy person by default, and I don't want to get paid $10 an hour. So what do? I was trying to figure out what my next move was, and I just saw this commercial for about coding at some for-profit college that is now defunct. But these people were talking about stuff, and I was like, what are they talking about? And one thing they brought up was SQL, whichever way you say it. I don't want to get beat up. Whatever version of that you identify with, that's the version that I said. I went to Barnes and Nobles, picked up a book about it, started playing around with it on my computer. About a year later, funny story, a year later, Department of Homeland Security picked me up to be a data analyst. And prior to that, a year before, I had applied at the Department of Homeland Security, and they said, thank you for your service, but you have no skills here. I mean, we don't have any use for your skills. So it's kind of crazy for me to have these skills, and the same place that didn't hire me for the skills I got in the military hired me for the skills I acquired after the military. And the military was a plus, or at the minimum of sorts to it. So a couple of years working here and there, doing tech jobs. I've done coding with digital marketing, coding with Department of Homeland Security. I was just thinking, thanks to a situation where I had to help a family that needed some real support back home, and I used my skills to raise $10,000 in 27 hours for them. It's coding kind of changed and saved my life. So I should probably see if it can help change other people's lives. That's how I look at it. I look at it programming, changed the entire landscape for me. It gave me, it's my Captain America shield. It, saved, it gave me rocket boosters of sorts, right? So, that's when the idea of, Vets Who Code came about, right? So I was like, what's the biggest problem that I'm trying to solve? And as a veterans usually go between 50 miles from their home to hometown, or they don't move more than 50 miles from their last duty station. Usually both are in crappy areas. They're not in the San Franciscos, the New York, the Atlantas, the San Diegos, the Redmonds, the Austins of the world. So and those tech ecosystems are usually 3 to 5 years behind, especially during this time frame, right, in 2014.
Right.
So my goal was to go to the coast, learn from the best talent that's there, and then remotely be able to transfer that to other veterans. So my veterans would have be leaps and bounds, better than their local talent because they were getting that really hard work. But was also like, okay, what is the thing that boot camps are missing that I don't want to have a part of? It's like, oh, boot camps spend a lot of energy and frankly, a lot of your money making you feel like a programmer. Well, me, I don't care about you feeling like a programmer. I care about you becoming a programmer. And my 3 rules of a programmer is first you have to learn how to code, then you have to learn how to code professionally, then you have to learn how to code collaboratively.
Right.
And that's what makes a programmer, right? Not just, being able to do some variables and stuff, but being able to, write functional, reliable, maintainable, readable code in a manner that won't make someone punch you in the face on Friday. While also being able to not run over and like accidentally delete prod when you're, merging stuff, thinking you're merging stuff, right? So that's what I like did with Vetsu Code. I try to make it as lean as possible, as grown up as possible when it comes to learning how to write code. We have the curriculum, and we started off with doing like cohorts, but now it's a rolling application process. Our curriculum is literally, we start from the outside and go in, where we look at what the market is telling us, and then we build in relation to that. And from going there, we start, making them learn how to code with our stack. So when I say that, is like, all right, look at the market. First, we build a thing that is in relation to what the market is doing. So like, for instance, when it comes to JavaScript, it's actually like, a front-end framework and TypeScript, right? So we use Next.js, APIs, TypeScript, and GitHub Actions for DevOps stuff, and, a lot of other toolings for them. So that way they can learn that and be able to build on our website, because they can build on our web app. We can, that's like our stamp of approval. Like, yeah, I trust this person because, I trust them on my own code, like, with my programming. So like, that's been our practice. That's how, and, it's worked. We've done 300 veterans and military spouses since 2014. And, zero cost to the veteran. We don't ask for like GI Bill or vet tech, none of that stuff. We just sit here and we focus on our process, especially now where we're doing a lot of one-on-one and mentorship with them as they go through our curriculum. And we have these project boards, these templates that once they put on their GitHub repos, they can move through in a Kanban format and solve those problems. And, just like we do peer reviews and stuff, that they have to be signed off by their mentor. So it's pretty cool because they're learning how to move, work, and communicate like a programmer immediately. And that's something that comes from our military ethos of train how you fight. So essentially train how you work, train how you're going to work, right? So we use Kanban, we use GitHub. They're making branches off their primary branches. They're merging things. They're getting reviews. They're getting things kicked back. Like, that is the point, right? And that's how I definitely want them to like keep moving, because that's the more they do that, the better they're going to be. And we treat, like I said, I tell them that the Vetsu Code is essentially the boxing gym. Like, you're supposed to mess up here, you're supposed to get knocked out here, so you don't go on an interview and get knocked out there. Like, ask questions. Don't be afraid to look stupid, because this is the one place you're allowed to look stupid when it comes to this. I'd rather you look stupid in here than, you look dumb out there. It's just like how, like, I don't know if your mom ever said this. My mom would say, I'd rather you mess up at home than mess up outside, because it's a reflection of them. If I mess up, do something dumb outside, so they'd rather me do it at home. So it's like, okay, that makes zero sense, because, I'm gonna get in trouble either way, but I guess because I get more in trouble when I get at home. But yeah, like, that's how we do things. And we've had some pretty cool awards. We've been highlighted in Wired. We've been Business Insider. We've been Verge. We ended up meeting Barack Obama when he was in office. That was cool. I've been keynoting OzCon. I've been on a show that won an Emmy. Done a bunch. Like I said, it's just these almost 10 years have been crazy yet, I still, come to work and try to do my best. I actually, yesterday, from the course I did, I believe on front end masters, I had a person from Pakistan hit me up and they wanted to meet with me and they were just like gushing that I was even responding to them via LinkedIn message. I was like, yeah, I'm just a guy. It's cool. Like it's just LinkedIn messages. Like, dude, it's cool. It's not a big deal.
Wow.
But that's why I try to be the type of programmer I wish was around when I was coming up. Like that's like my total focus and mission. I want to be, being a hero is essentially being what you needed, like when you were like going through it, right? So that's what I try to be.
That's awesome. So the curriculum, I think, starts with like command line basics and then gets to JavaScript, right? And then eventually they can actually contribute to the website, which is built. Okay, that's cool. So it's almost like verifying them through a contribution to the product. It's effectively like an open source product. And then that's really neat. And then for sure you can actually review the code, like, okay, I get this.
That's even on their personal projects, the whole point is to have them be able to move like programmers, to think like programmers, to actually go through those processes, right? And even from, the very beginning on having to write, I had to explain to someone today, I'm making you write blogs because programming, working as a dev is writing intensive. I think they think that all they're going to do is write code. Like, no, you're going to do design docs. You're going to do all types of things before you even write code. Like, there's going to be a lot of conversations, not just going to be, boop, 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 boop. You're going to have to write you got to do some programming. Do some writing. And even within what they do they get the peer review. We ask some questions based upon it. And it's been a great opportunity because even with AI coming out, we've been able to ask more questions, like just go deeper into learning, like, which is, for me, I don't have a problem using AI. I have a problem with them like using AI and not knowing what that means. Right. Yeah. Because it doesn't make any sense for me to say, hey, you can't use a tool to use it at work anyway. Right. So I'm at Microsoft and I am, writing code and I have the entire Copilot suite. So it is what you're going to be using it in real life. So it's cool.
That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Yeah. No, you can Code Interpreter even can do a lot for you, Yeah. You have to look at it and make sure that it's actually doing what you want. Because sometimes it doesn't. You're like, why did you you can make it actually make an application and it's missing some key logic and you're like, how did this go through?
That's what we've been working on. And I used to say, for me, it's fun because it's like putting my dent in the universe and making things making things better. Like I said, I'm being who I wish was out when I was in 2010, coming out 2010, 2011, helping me around. So that's my goal.
Were you nerdy? How did you get into computer science? You know what I mean? Because it's
it's weird, right? I get it.
Gunning training, you know what I mean? That's one personality type. And then now.
Well, it's not it's all science. I think people don't really think about it. Combat is true combat is science, right? It's not I've been in boxing, I've been Muay Thai, I've been jiu-jitsu, military. It's all science. It's just science applied in different ways. I wanted to be a scientist when I was a kid. Parents put me in boxing instead of putting me in a science class, but I still studied science because that's what really attracted me. But it's all science. There's a knowledge transfer on every level. It's all, in the end, you're breaking down something to a smaller part until you get to something digestible, and then you're working your way back to something that's more complex, right?
Yeah.
So that's really how it is. And when I think of coding, particularly when I made the decision to use JavaScript instead of Ruby or Python, it was okay, I need them to do something that's readily accessible, but is incredibly hard, like boxing. People just see people use two hands. You have to solve so many problems with just punches and footwork and head movement and trying to be defensive. What happens if you have a taller fighter? What happens if you have a shorter fighter? What happens if you have a puncher boxer? What happens if you have a brawler? What happens if you have a person that focuses on a Philly shell? There's so many questions that come up with that. I'm like, that's what I need, a language that does that. That's why I chose JavaScript, because JavaScript is essentially like boxing when it comes to programming. It looks simple, is a really attachable to the web, right? Like you can get it in the browser, but it's a nightmare to learn, right? It's not friendly like Ruby. It doesn't love you. Like it's like a feral cat that you're trying to make your friend, right? So that is what made me like make that decision. That's what I was looking for.
That's cool.
So that's how, I'm always making decisions based upon, all right, first training, trying to break down problems. Like, what are the problems I'm trying to solve? What are the problems I'm seeing in the community? What are the problems I'm seeing from other coding programs? What are the weaknesses I'm seeing in our students? What are the weaknesses that I don't want to see in my students? Like, I don't want any troop of mine and not be familiar with command line. I also don't, for me, command line and Git, you have to know those two, because those two are mandatory skills. Like, there's nothing truly you can do as a professional programmer in these days without understanding Git and command line. Like, especially with the AWS, like you can do the GUI, but it's going to take you a lot longer time.
Yes.
And people are going to, you are going to get dinged in like interviews and stuff for that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's how I've been training. I always look at it like, all right, starting from a job, that the job is complex. Let's break down what they need to the most basic thing, and let's work back. Right. So, that's just pretty much how I've been doing it. And it helps and it worked. Right? So I'm very happy that it worked, because that it works. So I've been doing it for 10 years. So I figured it out eventually. But yeah, I was a nerd, but like, I was a fight nerd, right? It's still being a nerd, but like,
do you still train?
Yeah, I do still train. My wife, she thinks it's stupid. Like I'm almost 40, and I'm like, you know what? I want to get like in shape and go and do like a boxing masters or something, because Atlanta, they do it every year. And she's like, you get paid to use your brain, and you want people to swing at the very thing that you use to make money already. That's stupid. You're always stupid. Get out my face. And so we have this conversation every year, and she shoots it down and make me feel like, you know what, that's the dumbest thing you could think of every year. So
I get it. I mean, I love martial arts. I grew up doing Taekwondo, and I've been training in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for like 8 years. And I've dabbled in like Muay Thai and boxing. And I feel like I like striking, but I mean, honestly, what I didn't like about it is like when you're sparring, you're leaving the gym like concussed, potentially.
Yeah, right. So you have to go to safer gyms. Like, I don't like, you have to go to like those Dutch Muay Thai gyms that you can't spar like past 50% and things like that. You have to have somebody that knows what they know.
It's true, but it's like crazy. Like it's hard to figure out like in a gym, at least it was for me, like who's just gonna, like, if you touch somebody and then they start swinging 80%, like that first swing, you're like, oh, hold on, it's like slow down. But some people are like, oh, okay, my bad, I didn't know I was like putting that much on it. And they still,
anybody that has a fight coming up, stay away from. Yeah. Anybody that had a fight that they lost in the last 6 weeks, to stay away from. That's game. Like, do you have a fight coming up? Did you have a fight just get over? Okay, so I'm not gonna fight you, and I'm not gonna fight you. I'm going like, who's here as an accountant and is just here for fun?
Yes. Who's got a normal day job and is a professional? Yes, totally. Okay, so do you like this? This is a different threat, but like, do you like grappling more or striking more?
In my old age, I am starting to like grappling more. But when I first started, I was more of a striker. Just with grappling, it's a different type of cardio, different type of mindset. Yep. So it's super, it's super cool. And, the breath control and grappling is so different from striking. So it's like, that's a, puzzle in itself. That's how programming is, right? Like, you don't even think about things like that as a normal person. Like how you breathe as a normal person versus how do you breathe when you're boxing versus how do you breathe when you're grappling. To most people, that makes no sense. But that's the same when it comes to like programming. Like, all right, do I use this pattern? Do I use this? Do I use like maybe there's a API somewhere that I can see uh where I can like just use that in lieu of building my own thing. Maybe there's a third party service I can just bring in, right? There's that. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So like that's what I like to, liken it to. Like it's just, it's all the same.
Yeah.
Once you find like if you're good at one thing, you have potential to be good at another thing. You just have to break it down.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. One thing that I've started thinking about is like nervous system activation, like at work and even in the gym. It's like I used to, drink like 4 coffees and like be really activated, and then your focus is like so narrow and you're not able to think creatively or laterally. And now, like even when training, it's like if my heart rate gets above a certain BPM, like you can feel it. Or even at work, if you're like getting too like even like too heavy on like a particular solution or a particular approach, it's like, okay, like let's pull back.
Got a bug you can't fix. You have to stay calm. Like
stay calm, put on some classical music, take a walk, come back, like just kind of detach a little bit, right?
Yeah. Like I learned that in the gym, right? Like you have to learn and military. You have to learn that, calming down is half the battle. Being able to think critically under pressure is a skill within itself, right?
Yes.
Like, you have to learn, hey, don't chicken wing your firearm. Hey, don't run when you hear explosions. Hey, all right, this is how we're going to enter a building and we're going to secure it. And yes, there might be bad people in here, or yeah, there's definitely bad people in here, but you have to be able to still think critically in a situation. And most importantly, don't accidentally shoot me. So like that is what you're thinking. That's what you're doing. Like most of all, rule number 1, don't accidentally shoot me. Rule number 2, stay calm. That is the same process. Like you have to, all right, there's a bug that's irritating you. The more irritated you get, the more you're going to get narrow in the focuses, the less creative you're going to be. You're not going to see the forest for the trees. So you got to step back, calm, like readjust yourself, and then like dive back in with a different set of thinking, right?
Yep.
Same in firefight, same in boxing, same in Muay Thai. Now, even in jiu-jitsu, you have to like reset and then go for a different way, right? If you got some one of those like 10th planet, leg lock, rubber guard people, you have to think, okay, how do I stuff these attacks and like keep him from my like grabbing my legs and stuff.
Oh,
So, it's all, it's all the same. Like that's how I view it. It's all the same.
Yeah, that's okay. This is kind of elite, but what's your favorite anime? I suspect.
My favorite anime, right? You know what? Food Wars. Food Wars is my favorite anime of all time.
Okay.
Food Wars is like, I thought it was going to be lame, but I watched like 2 episodes of it, and my wife and we were just on the bed. Like, I was like, I should start taking notes on this. Like, yo, these people can cook. Like, it's wild. I also like, there's one where there's like a kid who's training really hard to beat up his dad, and his dad's like in a prison for fun.
Baki.
Baki. I like Baki because like it's, with the shadow sparring and visualization and stuff. I'm like, oh, I like that. Like, it's kind of cool, but it's also very violent. Like, it's one of those animes. And I'm like, I don't know if my kids should watch this. Like I'm gonna watch it, but you can't watch this. Like,
yeah.
And they're like, that's trash, Dad. And I'm like, you are correct. You're right. So I'm 100% agreement with that still.
That's cool. Baki's a good one.
Yeah.
I haven't seen Wars. I'm going to check that out this weekend. Baki is like classic shonen. Every time I watch it, I get like motivated to go train or like I don't know, work. I'm like, okay, I'm zoned in now. Yeah, that's cool. My favorite right now is One Piece. It's like a super long one. It's on Netflix.
I know we are having a full argument like right now. My wife and I are in the middle of the like, should we start One Piece? Because she's like, I don't have it in me to do One Piece because how long it is. I'm like, but if it's that long, we know what we're going to watch. We should like I mean, we've watched Supernatural from beginning to end twice. We can watch like One Piece once. We can get through One Piece. Like Supernatural is long. It's like 16 seasons. So I'm like, we've done 32 seasons of this practically. Like we could do One Piece. We can do it. It's just like, no, I don't think we can. I don't have it in me.
I have learned so many leadership lessons from One Piece. I It's so good. I mean, they're like pirates. They're building like an org. They're sailing the seas. It's fun. And it's like, it's kid friendly because there's not,
And violence and like dude has rubber arms, like not bloodshed, but like his arms stretch. So like
yeah,
it's goofy. It's violence, but it's goofy violence. It's like
exactly.
Looney Tunes violence.
It's Looney Tunes violence. Totally. As the series progresses, like things get a little bit more serious, but like it's still very silly anime that's like fun. But there's like some definitely like, like I'm the type of person I can watch like Lord of the Rings and like tear up. So like there are some moving moments in One Piece that are like, oh, like that's moving. You know what I mean?
I'll see. Like, see, that's the thing. I don't like. I'm like, no, I'm a gangster. I'm like, I can't be out here crying. Like I was telling my wife and my kids, like, I had never finished. Like, I watched Up when it first came out.
That's a help.
The first like 15 minutes, I was done. I had to walk out. I was like, I'm not watching that. Like, and I didn't watch it until we had like a 1-year-old. I was like, I'm not. I was like, I can't finish it.
There's some movies like that where I'll just be like tearing up, and I'm like, whoa, what's wrong with me? Like, I need to get like my testosterone levels checked or something.
More importantly, what's wrong with Disney? Why do they keep killing loved ones in the first half hour? It's supposed to be kid shows, but they always murder someone in the first like 40 minutes of the show. Like Mufasa, dude's wife. I'm like, come on, bro. Like, I don't need to go through this.
Yes, Lion King. What a like tragic but inspiring story. I need to watch that again.
It was traumatizing when you're a kid. Like, oh my goodness, the uncle just usurped and had the dad killed. Like, oh my, like, what lessons are we teaching? I don't know what lessons they were trying to teach me in 1993, but it's wild.
Watch out for your uncle. Like, what?
Yeah, don't trust your uncle around your dad.
Okay, so vets. I feel like vets in general have a lot of leadership training, like good stress-oriented resolve, like good psychological discipline, and like would make awesome business leaders and business owners. Have you thought about like including as a part of your curriculum like other disciplines that maybe could move people into like an entrepreneurship realm?
Of course, we've been thinking about that. We've been looking at product management, program management. We actually have a contracting like channel. So we teach them how to do certain things, like how to do contracts, how many times you got to pay your taxes,
right?
Things like that, right? You got to pay the government every quarter, or they're coming for you. Like, nah, you don't want that. So I think, we're always looking, especially right now, we're trying to expand. Like we used to be able to handle small numbers, but our goal is within by 2027 to be able to support upwards of 2,500 like veterans and military spouses a year, because that's like 1 to 2% of people who exit the military. And especially right now, when more people are exiting than entering, we're looking at these roles like how do we support this community? How do we support this culture, right? And at times like this, like when you're more senior, or also like I view myself very lucky because I'm not only more senior in my career, I'm pretty close to things that make revenue, like AI, DevOps, data engineering. Like that's what I do. So I understand that not everybody's like that, and I'm trying to make sure, like, how do I make these people bulletproof when it comes to the job industry? Like from every level, I would go from what's the most basic level, the resume. How do I ensure that everyone knows how to make a resume that will pass ATSs, right? How will I know how to ensure like how they use LinkedIn and how they flesh out their LinkedIn profile and how they can utilize the certifications from LinkedIn Learning to bump their LinkedIn profile up higher on people's skills that are going for jobs. I'm like, all right, how do I teach them how to network? How do I teach them how to build relationships? How do I teach them how to turn a person you network from a person who you network with to a mentor to someone sponsoring you at jobs, like, and advocating for you? How do I teach that? Right? Like, how do I teach you how to speak at an interview? How do I teach you how to showcase how you think? How do I teach you how to make projects or write things or, build like vlogs, whatever is your passion, to show that, sells you for you, right? I have to help you make that self-marketing pipeline, because a lot of people, they don't even think about that. Like, you have to build things, not just to showcase that you can code, but convince people to take a look at you even when you're not thinking about them or building with them, right? So it was I'm always teaching that, and even with their portfolios, I'm fussing at them. I'm like, hey, you don't have a contact form. Like, why on earth do you have a contact form? I'm like, this is what's going to happen. You have an email right here, and you're going to expect someone to copy your email, and their kid is going to come in and start making a ruckus. And they're going to see what their kid is. They're going to come back on the computer. They're not going to remember what they were thinking, and you just lost interview opportunity. So That's why you did a contact form and put it right there on your website, so that way they can just enter it and move on with their day. Or, will they come and say, oh, I've done this, and third. I'm like, okay, how many people do your website? How many times you shared your website? You don't know? Okay, so do you not have Google, do you not have any tracking on your website? So you need to have, the Google tracking on your website, because we don't have any data to showcase where our problems are. Why is it's not hitting? Why are you not hitting your goal? We need that data before, like how many people are passing you up, right? How many people are, what's your bounce rate? Things like that. Like, why is your bounce rate so high? So, these are the questions and things I'm always thinking of my veterans. And they don't think about that type of stuff. Most of them don't think about, do they have Google tracking on their portfolio, or if my contact form is easy enough to find so someone can quickly get in contact with me, or how do I, do the interview process and make sure I'm showcasing how I think through my problems as I'm solving problems. They don't think about that. That's my job to think about. So that's how I look at problems, and I try to solve them for them.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah, it's incredible what your organization's doing. And, I think people in the community will be super stoked to hear this. Yeah, where can people find you on the interwebs?
I'm mostly on LinkedIn these days, Jerome Hardaway. I'm also on Twitter, though, Jerome Hardaway. I'm Jerome Hardaway everywhere: GitHub, LinkedIn, Twitter. Those are the places I'm at the most. So, but that's who I am.
Awesome. Well, thanks for your time, Jerome. Really appreciate you, man.
All right. Thank you.
You're listening to the Founder to Founder podcast, powered by Gun.io's Frontier Network. We release a new episode every Thursday morning, so be sure to subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, or wherever you stream your music. Please leave us a review and share with your friends. You can follow us online at The Frontier Pod, or drop us a line at team@gun.io to get in touch about hiring world-class tech talent.